My point of order.
The point of order is withdrawn. The gentleman from North Dakota is recognized.
I move to strike the last word.
Gentleman's recognized.
That's not basically what we're alleging. It's exactly what we're alleging. From the entire time this started and from this hearing, and I've been thinking a lot about how to address and deal with some of these issues, because a lot of what you deal with in contempt is wonky. And a lot of what we've dealt with back and forth in these hearings is really, really inside baseball. As an example, I spent 6 months in a skiff in the basement of the Capitol in a classified setting, listening to unclassified testimony. So if we're talking about open and transparent and all of those different issues, but I think the more important issue is we've heard that Hunter Biden's a private citizen. I represented a lot of private citizens in federal court. Ain't any of them been treated like this. We talk about a special prosecutor being appointed, but he was only appointed after a plea deal was thrown out that granted pretrial diversion for a federal gun charge and global immunity that far exceeded the overall base of the plea agreement. And keep in mind, that plea agreement was entered into after 2 different U.S. attorneys failed to prosecute this case. It's almost like if you would wait 2 years, 3 years and appoint a special prosecutor, then as the House is doing its investigation, you could claim, oh no, there's a prosecution going on. It's also a plea deal that apparently was granted after we had a DOJ report and people trying to get to a credible witness, and investigators all over the country were frustrated at every single step of the way. We have IRS witnesses that come in and say that every time they tried to investigate this stuff, it was taken off the table. And this had real consequences, real consequences. The statute of limitations passed. He can't be charged for the times for when these things occurred. Regular defendants don't get that treatment. They don't get that in federal court. I can tell you from spending a decade defending clients in federal court, there's never been a federal prosecutor anywhere in the country that is just like, I'm really worried about your 5-year addiction. Here's your deferred prosecution. There's never been an investigator that says, you know what, we should just tamp down on this and not do anything, because if we wait long enough, if we just wait long enough, the statute of limitations will talk. So we keep talking about all of these different things, and we go through all of these different things. But I think kind of the best one to all of this is, you know what a regular citizen has never had happen in a federal case? They've never had a presidential transition team interfere with an FBI investigation. Mm-hmm. I've never had a client to have that happen. They've never had the Secret Service and a purely political committee set up solely for the purpose of helping a newly elected president transition into the role of the president interfere with the FBI's investigation or the IRS's investigation with his son. And you know what else you don't get to do when you get a subpoena? You just don't. You don't get to say, I will do it under my terms, or no terms at all. You don't get to say, I'm not going to sit under oath and deal with a prosecutor or deal with a congressional committee how they want to do it. We've talked a lot about whether he can do that or he can't do that or we should do that or we shouldn't do that. We don't have to. The United States Congress can issue a subpoena. They can say how you want to do it. You can go back and you can negotiate terms and you can deal with all of these things. We've dealt with this a lot, both in the majority and the minority. What you don't get to do is hold a press conference on the front of the Capitol steps with your lawyer and say, I'm only doing it the way I want to do it. Maybe just this one time, Hunter Biden shouldn't get special favorable treatment with prosecutors and judges and IRS agents and statute of limitations. Maybe just this one time, he shouldn't be a spoiled little rich kid with a really important dad who actually is 50 years old, and he should comply with the subpoena, or at least in good faith negotiate how to comply with the subpoena, instead of holding press conferences and having the Secret Service sweep an oversight room so he can come in and do a political stunt. Maybe just this one time we should do it that way. So
would the gentleman yield for a question?
Sure.
Okay, none of that goes to the amendment.